Hi there, it's Ashley. I did my research poster on ability groupings. First, I'm going to talk about the importance of inquiry in education. So, the inquiry process or the research process is flexible and ongoing. We kind of use our design thinking model to be flexible and learn new techniques that are research based. As teachers, we need to do this to best reach our students. There are some ethical implications when we look at research in the education field. The number one thing is maintaining student health and wellness. If they are ever part of a study that could potentially harm them in any way, they should not participate in that study, and that study should actually stop because the number one focus are the students and their wellness. For my inquiry process, I initially started with what is the best way to group students? Should we group them by age, ability, or something else? I think this was super interesting because we need to group students to differentiate, but to also differentiate their academics and their social emotional needs. I found that this question was way too big. There's too much research for this project. So I narrowed my question to what are the benefits and drawbacks of grouping students based on their ability. This was a much better question. There's still tons of research, but it was just narrow enough that I could find this. I think this is very interesting because we often base students on their ability, especially when we think of reading instruction. So the big things I was looking for is how do we maximize the benefits of this type of grouping, and then how do we minimize the drawbacks. Then, after I looked at my research question, it wasn't split into benefits and drawbacks. It was actually split into how lower and higher achieving students are impacted by these ability groupings. So that's what my poster represents, is what the studies said. So what I found is that the higher achieving groups had greater self-esteem. They thought their teachers were supportive. The teachers thought they were eager to learn. Their relationship with their teachers focused on their academic achievement, and they valued themselves higher when they thought their teacher was supporting them. So very beneficial for the high achieving students. For the low achieving students, however, they had lower self-esteem. They thought their teachers were controlling. The teachers thought the lower achieving students were disciplinary challenges, and their relationship focused on those disciplinary actions. The most interesting thing I found was students in the lower achieving group valued themselves more when they thought their teacher was disciplining them, which I thought was very interesting. So my conclusion, my big takeaways are ability groupings do not significantly positively impact student achievement, especially for the lower ones, which is what we often think we're doing these ability groupings for. So these research said that teachers who focus on ability groupings often value the individual's academics, and they're less concerned about more practical abilities. Students' perception on teachers' behaviors have significant effect on their self-esteem. So how they view their teachers and how they think their teachers view them really affects their own cognitive self. One quote I thought was awesome from one of the studies I found is, "It is not the evaluation of oneself alone that generated self-esteem. How a person thinks others would value him or her also generate his or her self-esteem." And when we think of students, how we view them, how we talk to them is how they're going to think about themselves. So teachers need to be aware of how these labels impact students, what we do just not even thinking a lot of the time. Students need to be kept in a heterogeneous class and should only be placed into ability groupings, particularly for important instruction. So it's not an all or nothing. You definitely should not do ability groupings for this, but I think it's important to make sure grouping plans are flexible and easily changeable to allow for movement within groupings based on student progressions. So if you look at my little classroom setup that I have on the right hand side of my poster in the kind of peachy yellow color, I Had lots of different work tables. The Epson board is right at the front. We have standing desks at the back so students can work on their own or in groups, and it's very easy to split them up in this kind of classroom. So initially, I had thought that ability groupings significantly improve students' academic achievement, especially for the lower ones. I found out that that is not the case. I think we need to find balance when we group students so that they get to work with all of their peers and don't feel labeled by a group that they're always in. So, very interesting stuff. That is my poster. Thanks for listening.